everybody. You're very welcome to RSAC Conference 2025. I'm thrilled to have Rupesh on with me from Akamai. The word is, I just learned, Hawaiian rooted, means
yes.
intelligent
yes.
and smart, which I know you are. We've had many conversations. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, Rupesh.
Yeah.
How are things going?
Things are going great. Thank you so much for having us. A lot of excitement, announcements, a lot of new product capabilities, a lot of great interactions with customers, with industry analysts. So super excited. You know, I'm always amazed with how RSA kind of puts up the show, 40,000 plus attendees.
I know.
The whole kind of security community coming together, right? It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And I think I've had a lot of conversations with CISOs this week, and it's been a mix, but I think I'm seeing a lot of interest in new technologies, not just from new and upcoming vendors, but new capabilities from existing vendors they do a lot of work with.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't get away from the two-letter acronym that takes over everything.
Yes.
But it's because it's real, it's important, and we have to pay attention to it. And
Absolutely.
You and your team certainly have done that. So let's start with a view of your perspective on the impact AI, that's a two-letter word, AI is having on security. It's a double-edged impact, right?
Yeah,
so maybe
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about that, what you're seeing there.
So as you mentioned, right, kind of AI front and center, you know, I genuinely believe that we are in the sort of the golden age of the AI era. A lot of good, right, in terms of what AI brings when it comes to efficiency, productivity, when it brings to personalization. There's so many new innovative ideas that we can bring forward. And then when you kind of step back and look at it from a security perspective, you have AI security, which is where you are making sure that you're securing the AI applications and Gen AI applications, etc. And then you are utilizing AI in cybersecurity, right? And that is, you know, maybe we start over there and then we'll go to what we are announcing.
Are your customers actively looking at both angles?
Both angles,
okay,
right? And we have been, you know, utilizing ML, AI for 10 plus years, making our security products better. So when you think about, you know, an adaptive security engine, or when you think about bot mitigation, when you think about behavioral DDoS, you know, all of these capabilities are powered by AI models that are, you know, very smart. They are in many cases unsupervised, so they're learning by themselves. They can see what most of the times a human cannot see in the patterns, in the variables, on putting everything together. And we know that speed is such an important element of fighting cyber attacks and cybercrime. And AI helps. And it's unfortunate because it's kind of helping both sides, right? It's helping the bad guys with the speed, but it's also helping the good guys.
At risk of going on a tangent, AI is not machine learning, because you talked about learning on the fly, which you said you've been doing for quite some time now.
Right.
How important is that element in this scenario? It's not just having a model with a data set. Right. It has to continue to learn.
It has to continue to learn, right? And I think that is the biggest sort of, you know, advantage that we will see as, you know, there's so many different industries that are thinking about, hey, we've been doing automation, or we've been doing data insights, machine learning for a number of years, right? So what does the core value of AI? So it's all about the intelligence, the smartness, the autonomous aspect of it, the self-learning becomes very important. Otherwise, you know, you're always kind of depending on human beings to provide that intelligence, and now we're shifting that to the software with AI.
Absolutely. So in terms of seeing things, I know your team invests in analyzing trends and traffic and whatnot. What are you seeing both from an API perspective, which probably also touches on agentic AI, as well as just general web attacks, which
absolutely
we're never going to get away from, it seems.
Yeah, we're never, right? And we recently published what we call as a SOTI report, which is the state of the internet report, and we look at the data over a period of time, 12 months, 24 months, etc., so 1 or 2 years. And we found, you know, just the sheer volume of attacks on web applications on APIs, 311 billion, 33% rise.
Wow.
And 50% of that was directed to API attacks. So 150 billion API attacks.
Do we know why? Is it just an easier
I think it's two reasons, right? One is that we live in this very hyper-connected economy, right? So APIs are providing that sort of, common language, common framework, data exchange, etc. So just, that's the way modern software is built, right? And what that does is that it creates this kind of new attack landscape, the threat vector. And that is why I think, the bad guys have been successful. We've seen data breaches, we have seen business logic abuse, we have seen lots of different ways of extracting information or inserting certain things through the APIs.
Now, is it that the APIs are also exposed, easier to see, and maybe not also then not monitored?
Yes.
Because they're only monitoring the app, not the
right.
So is that? Tell us a little bit about maybe even a view into a customer to how their environment looks that might contribute to that.
Absolutely. So we will do, when we have preliminary conversations with the customers and say, hey, I'm interested in API security, and we say, okay, let's go do discovery, visibility, inventory. Like, let's just go scan your environments, let's look at what we are seeing, and you kind of step back and say, oh my God, 15,000 APIs, 1,000 APIs, 20,000 APIs. And then you think about shadow APIs, zombie APIs, right? So what has happened is that the customers don't have a good handle on their sort of, attack surface, right? Now, a lot of customers then, when we go through the data and we are doing the detections and we are looking at the behavioral patterns, we're starting to show and see abuse, right? Real time, the bad, in fact, even through, proof of concepts, we have seen customers getting attacked.
And is it just abuse on looking for a compromise, or is it impacting actual performance and transactions and things like that?
So I think it's sort of like both, but it starts with the bad guys are looking for some sort of entry point to then do some data extraction, or even, there are so many industries, whether it's airline, hospitality, retail, they all have loyalty points, right? And loyalty programs. And all these malicious folks are starting to go in through the APIs and move things around and sort of like, gain financially utilizing some other currency, right? And these are easy ways to penetrate. And, the enterprises have to do a lot of work to start to kind of build their armor against that, and they're doing that, And then on top of that, you talk about AI, agentic AI. I mean, that is just like,
I was going to go there next with the LLMs and agentic AI. So what are you seeing in that front?
So we are,
like chatbots and things that are connected to customer databases and all kinds of fun stuff. Right?
That's right. And super excited. We yesterday announced a new product capability from Akamai, market leading firewall for AI, and the whole idea over there is, we're seeing customers across all industry verticals, right? Not just financial services or commerce, but high tech, transportation, travel, hospitality, government agencies, manufacturing, etc. Thinking about how can you start to utilize the conversational AI agents? How do you do the chatbots? How do you make it much more? Basically, they're all after a differentiated experience or productivity gain, right? So we are starting to see more and more of that put out.
Right.
And then the CISOs and the security professionals are like, oh, well, what do I do, right? So for us, it's, hey, we focus on runtime AI security. We have a firewall for AI. We can go do at very kind of high scale, scalable capabilities on input, output. Let's go look at what is happening from prompt injection to PII leakage to data sensitivity to toxic language. I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong.
And it's using AI, I would imagine, to and analyze all this stuff. Can you give me a scenario of I don't know, an example of a potential attack and how the firewall helps surface that before it actually comes to fruition?
So we, last year we did some tech previews, as we call them. So before the product is launched, we work with a set of customers to figure out, what we are learning, what they're learning. So this was one company, won't name the name, but they were focused on a public-facing conversational AI agent. They are in real estate, in mortgage, and services associated with that, right? And we looked at it for a period of time to study all the transactions that are taking place. And of the 100,000 requests that we analyzed, 6% of that had something sort of malicious going on.
Wow.
Which is a very high number, right? Because the bad guys only have to get it right once.
Yeah.
Right? So
we saw, by that,
yeah, we saw some PII leakage. Okay. We saw some toxic language. We saw some prompt injections, which is different ways of trying to find information in roundabout ways, right? And the whole point with the LLM or the Gen AI application is to continue to sort of do good or better for the user that it is interacting, right? So if you want to go deeper, it'll continue to go deeper and try to please you.
Right.
So that is what we are seeing.
Yeah. Now, is this primarily outside in, or do you also see it inside as well?
Yeah. So outside in, external applications, we see that inside too. And I think the inside or the internal application, over there, the use cases are even broader, right? Because every company, like I run an engineering team, so my developers, software developers like Enthu on, hey Rupesh, we got to have this, we got to have that. We all have our own internal AI agents, whether it is helping us do software development faster, whether it's looking at pricing trends, whether it is looking at customer data, whether it is looking at so many use cases, like the financial services folks are heavy into figuring out, right? What are the seasonality? How's the market going to move? What do we do? What do we offer? So there's a lot of work happening internal. And one of the researchers on my team had done some analysis and said, hey, even a 0.001% poisoning of the model can have massive effects.
Yeah, right? Unacceptable.
Unacceptable, right. But that's the world we live in.
It is the world we live in.
We got to embrace it, and security's got to be an enabler.
Yeah. Which creates the world that the CISOs live in and their teams live in. So I want to, as we wrap here, maybe speak to the security leadership team, and because I presume firewall, it goes through the security purchasing process. But as soon as we start talking about AI and data, you have data scientists, and you have business teams, and which all this impacts how this comes together. So tell me about how the conversation with the CISOs sound and look like, and how do they prepare their team? How do they prepare their environment for the new firewall? And then how do they have that conversation with their data and AI peers to ensure that they're not upsetting them, right? I know there's a lot in that question, but maybe kind of describe that.
Yeah, sure. So the one trend that we have seen is that a lot of enterprises, large, medium, small, have started to put a head of AI, right? Hey, somebody who's responsible across the whole business, because they genuinely believe in the power of what AI will deliver. So the CISO teams need to really sort of have a shared responsibility model working with the stakeholders. That's item number one. But then when you start to think about security or AI security, I think there are 3 or 4 big important areas. So obviously there is the AI runtime, right? So we are seeing a lot of customers saying, hey, if you have a scalable firewall for AI, if you have the right deployment options, I want to move forward with that, right? So you got to make sure how you kind of protect yourself from a runtime perspective. But then simultaneously look at, discovery, visibility, posture is going to be very important, similar to what we saw 2 years ago with API security. Same applicable over here. Then you start to hear more about testing or AI red teaming, right? Which is very important to say, if I want to do secure by design, if I want to look at model scanning or things that is even before I deploy something in production, how do I go about it? Do I have the right kind of tools and capabilities? And then the fourth one would be around sort of governance and compliance. Right. And I think that is going to be very important because it's funny because
does the firewall give the visibility and the demonstrability of that?
Yeah. So it gives a lot of what I mentioned, and again, like CISOs, I think they got their work cut out because the pace at which AI adoption is moving is not the same pace that the budgets are moving.
Right.
Right? So it's kind of like a mid-year adjustment going on.
Exactly. Yeah, the business is rolling. Business is rolling. You got to get on that.
Right.
So as we wrap here, Rupesh, what's the goal with the full Akamai suite, the new AI firewall?
Yeah.
In terms of helping a CISO, we know there's a lot of pressure on their shoulders, right? They have a lot of stress, perhaps even. What's your goal with the solution for them to maybe alleviate some of that, maybe shift some of the their own risk off their own shoulders?
Yeah. I think I'll touch on two things, right? Okay. So what we have heard again and again is this sort of like concept of frictionless, right, or ease of deployment or ease of use, right? We want security to be an enabler, right? We are 100% aligned. So what we have done with the firewall for AI is that we've made the deployment very easy, because we already see a lot of traffic on Akamai Edge, and we're able to take that, run it through the detection cloud, and provide the decisions back in alert mode or modify or deny to the customers, and it's all automated. And then all of that happens at kind of industrial grade, scalable, reliable, etc. right? So you're kind of not trying to go into the environment and say, hey, I have a point solution and it's this and it's that, and now you, the customer, has to deploy resources, etc. We're making all of that very, very easy. And the second thing is, I think you need a trusted partner. You need somebody who understands this space deeply, right? So when I talked about in the beginning how we are ourselves utilizing AI to make our security products better, that mindset, that knowledge is going to be very important. So having a trusted partner who can guide the organization through this is going to be very important.
Yeah. Well, who understands the risk? You see it.
We see it, yeah.
And thankfully you've built something to help CISOs get ahead of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Rupesh, I always enjoy talking with you.
Same here.
And congratulations on the new release and all the good work you and your team do. And I would encourage everybody to read the report, the SOTI report. Check out the new AI firewall. Connect with Rupesh. Connect with the Akamai team. Be intelligent with an intelligent partner.
Yes.
And ITSPmagazine.com/RSAC 25 for all of our coverage, including this story and others from Rupesh and the Akamai team. We'll see you all in the next one.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.